You know, I'm feeling pretty good about myself today. So, do you know what that means? I think I'm gonna go on my Final Fantasy ranking and see what the lovely people of YouTube are saying about this. I'm sure it's nothing but positivity and brightness and that everyone agrees with my opinions. Sorry, but the PS1 Origins Prelude is better than GBA Souls. You motherfucker. You suck. Joke's on you. It's only true if you say it twice. Ah, son of a bitch. Everyone has a right to their opinions. Oh, well that's really sweet of you, even the wrong ones. God damn it. This is a dangerous video. Haha, nice. Hey, I like the photographer picture, man. 9 better be at the top. You're gonna be sorely disappointed. Such a fake fan, bro. Has his opinion on stuff and shares it, but it doesn't match mine. Hate this guy. You know what, dude? You. And more stuff about 7 Remake that wasn't supposed to be about in the video. What the f? I have a grill friend, so my nerd card is revoked. Well, shit. And my opinion is invalidated. Son of a... I like these. Let's keep going. Ooh, this one looks interesting. No remakes. Proceeds to play the remakes of the first 4 games. Facepalm. You might as well have ranked the Zodiac Age because you bashed FF3DS for things that weren't even in the NES versions of 1 and 2, and praised FF1 for things that weren't even in the Wonder Swan color from 3 years prior. The GBA version of FF1 is the easy mode of the PS1 version, and every version of FF1 before the GBA version had the same type of magic system as FF3. The jobs were more balanced, everything costs less money in the GBA version despite you earning the same amount of gil. Also, Phoenix Downs did not exist before the GBA version. Wait, really? Oh shit, that's interesting. Go ahead and do an all-white mage run on the NES. I dare you. Okay. Final Fantasy is one of my top 5 favorite franchises of all time, but I never got to experience every single game until I played them all back for my ranking in 2022. Unfortunately, because I didn't own an NES or an SNES at the time, I wasn't able to experience the original forms of the first few games, which spawned a lot of controversy in the comments. Final Fantasy 1 is a game that I honestly speak very highly of. At the time, I was only able to play the GBA version, and I absolutely love it. The replayability of getting to choose your starting party and go through the entire game with them is truly remarkable. In my ranking video, I made this joke. Currently working on my all-white mage run with Jonah, Jonah 2, Jonah 3, and Amy. All-class runs are one of the more famous challenges to do in Final Fantasy 1. It keeps you limited to specific movesets and forces you to play the game differently. Most famous is the white mage run, where you have characters that only know healing and support spells and not the best attackers. Even better is that the NES version of this game has its own share of problems, bugs, and quirks that makes these runs more interesting. And one commenter who had an issue with me not having these games available decided to call me out and question my ability. So because I'm bitter, I decided that my first playthrough of Final Fantasy 1 on the NES would be a white mage challenge. And because I like rubbing it in, I decided to limit myself to only 1 white mage. And because I'm a masochist and know this challenge has been done before, I decided to play the game without skewing my stats. See, Final Fantasy 1 has a randomness factor to it, where certain stats for certain classes are guaranteed, and you can get other stats randomly at certain levels. Other players will reset level ups for these one party member runs to skew their stats in the direction they want. So I decided that we are not going to do that and answer the question, can you beat Final Fantasy on the NES with 1 white mage without skewing your stats? Let's find out together. Here are the rules. I'm only allowed to have 1 party member, and that party member needs to be a white mage or a white wizard. As an added bonus challenge, I need to play as much of the game as possible without upgrading my class. White wizards gain some of the most powerful spells in the game, including Cure 4 and Fade, or also known as Holy. So we are limiting ourselves to get as far as we can without this upgrade. Rule number 2, I must be playing the NES version. No NES Classic or emulation is allowed. Also, random encounter exploits are allowed, just no cheats, if you can even do so in this game. Rule number 3, I am not allowed to reset my game for level ups. I need to stick with what I got. The only exception that is made is if I unexpectedly die before I make it to a save point. This is for certain dungeons or enemies that stun lock me before I have the chance to run away. Trust me, sometimes this worked to my detriment. And rule number 4, we are going for 100% completion. This means all chests, side quests, and we need to beat Warmech. So yes, we do need to go to the Castle of Ordeals and get the Rat's Tail as a failsafe. I'm just not allowed to use it unless absolutely necessary. With the rules set, let's boot up our new NES and get started. Can you beat Final Fantasy I on the NES with one white mage without skewing your stats?
Just don't do 4 white mages. That'll never work.
I'll show you, Jared!
Wait. Step this.
Oh my fucking Christ, there's so many goddamn wires down here. I have been trying to start this fucking challenge run for, no joke, a week now. Now that I finally have it set up, I'm not fucking touching it. We start off our journey by facing our first challenge, actually getting the run started. We can't start with one party member, so we have to be a witness to murder. This took me, no joke, several attempts to get right. It wasn't until after trying maybe 10 or so times until I realized that the member I wanted to stay alive needed to be last in line. After finally getting Jonah ready for battle, we go in and buy some equipment as well as our first couple spells. I'm going to be using the in-game names for all spells and items throughout the video, so if you want more details, you'll have to do some research. Obviously the first spells I decided to buy was Ruse to increase my evasion, Fog to increase my absorb, and Cure to make sure I don't die. I did decide to leave Harm behind because it didn't seem viable and I'm going to get Harm 2 later on as an obvious spell choice, a choice I will later regret. After getting geared up, the king explains how his daughter has been kidnapped by Garland and I need to go save her. He lives in a castle in the north, so it's up to me to go and bring her home. So now, it was time to start the long process of grinding. Having only one party member means I only have one action per turn, and that will make or break battles. All we can really handle at the moment are the imps, which gives us 6 EXP and 6 skill each, which, as you can imagine, takes for goddamn ever to level up. So, I decided to take a few recording sessions killing small hordes of imps and going to save at the inn every 3 to 4 battles. By the way, prepare to see this screen a lot because holy crap, Jonah's accuracy sucks, and no matter how many times I yell at him in Discord, he refuses to increase his f***ing accuracy. Not that I'm bitter. Once I reached level 5, I decided that it was time to take on the first boss, Garland. Garland has 106 HP, a 97% hit rate, and a 6% evasion rate. I have 4 spell slots I can utilize, so I decided to pop both a Fog and a Ruse to increase my evasion and absorb, and use the other 2 for Cure throughout the battle. I just continue to bash his head in with my hammer, and in just a few turns, he goes down.
Okay. That makes sense, actually. Thank you.
Yes! Let's f***ing go!
I'm kind of drunk, so I, you know. I'm kind of drunk, so I, you know.
Alright, Garland is down. Let's go. First boss done.
Hand, bro. I can't see him.
Oh, you peeked over here with
kitchen,
me.
Kitchen!
After we return with the princess, the king rebuilds the bridge for us, and crossing this bridge means immediate danger. So far, I've only been able to handle the imps, and everything across this bridge will kick my ass. I decided to force my way to the next city, Provoca. After buying some gloves, I decided to get the pirate fight out of the way so I can get access to the ship. You face a total of 9 pirates with 6 HP each. I used the same strategy that I used with Garland, popping off 1 Ruse and 1 Fog, and let Jonah's terrible accuracy show itself in full. After a few dozen misses and a whole lot of luck, we beat them on our first attempt with a level up. Okay, come on. Yes!
Changing the contest from summertime to beach episode because I know people just want to talk fucking women in bikinis. Yeah. It's funny. Silly.
Yes! Level 6. Let's go. 117 hit points. Intelligence up. Luck up.
I'm trying to figure out which one's one.
Now we have access to the seas, which, let me tell ya, sucks more than the road to Provoca. I'm only level 6, so I need to come up with a more viable way of earning EXP and money. But for now, with the little gil I had, I brute forced my way to Elfland to get myself some new copper armor and a cap to raise my absorb. This was where I needed to rethink some of my strategies on how to grind. After watching a few runs done by other people, I found the strategy that worked really well. Once in battle, I need to pop 2 ruses and just spam attack. My evasion will be so high that the only way the enemy can hit me will be with a critical hit. And that is the best viable strategy to get EXP and gil. I was able to get enough gil to head back to Provoca and fill up my level 2 slots. I decided to land on Lamp to deal with darkness, which I found out later actually doesn't work in this game, but whatever. Alit to deal with lightning, and Mute to silence foes. This will be useful for an upcoming boss fight. I did decide to skip out on a Viz because it's only half as effective but on the whole party. I did regret this decision later on considering darkness doesn't work in this game, but whatever, the deed's already done. It might have been dumb to pass on another evasion buff, but honestly Ruse is way more effective considering I only have one party member, and these other spells might be useful down the line. But now comes the painful part. More f***ing grinding. I wanted to get to a decent level where I can survive the next dungeon, but I won't lie, this grinding is such a long and tedious process that I got to level 10 and took a few months off. You can literally see me writing this script as I'm grinding. After my incredibly long lunch break, I went back to Garland's castle and grabbed the loot that was in there for some extra items and armor to sell. I also took the time to test out about 3 different grinding spots. I tried outside of Elftown and Provoca, but then I settled on the seas for a bit, mostly because I got access to cheaper inns for saving, as well as these pirate enemies who drop a lot of gil. I beat a few of them before I settled in on getting my first 2 level 3 spells, Cure 2 to avoid death, and Harm 2 to deal with death. It was at this point in time that I discovered that VG Myths uploaded this run before I could finish it. Damn it. But after sulking for a bit and reminding myself that I'm doing it on the original game instead of the Wii U, and I'm not skewing my stats, haha, love your videos by the way, they actually provided me with some interesting intel. First of that being the Peninsula of Power, where you can go fight late game monsters for a ton of EXP and gil. I tried using the strategy myself with the zombie bulls, but it wasn't working out too well. But they also said that there was a perfect gil grinding spot just outside of Provoca. Using the Peninsula of Power, once I was actually able to do it, I got myself to level 15, where I got my final level 3 spell, A Fire, which grants fire resistance. I also got my first 2 level 4 spells, being Pure, which removes poison, and A Ice, which grants ice resistance. It was time to set out for the Marsh Cave, our second official dungeon. Our goal is to get to the bottom and retrieve the crown, but this is going to be a lot more difficult than it sounds. The reason why is because there are several enemies that can inflict paralysis that isn't wearing off, also known as a reset. And to make matters worse, you have to fight a forced encounter at the bottom that can be up to 4 enemies. Also, I have to get out of the cave. This is going to require some serious luck because I have no way to counter paralysis. Also, I seem to be getting the worst luck ever because I keep getting 4 of these fuckers when it's supposed to be a chance of getting 2 to 4. I spent several attempts trying to get to the bottom, and it's clear I won't survive with this current setup. So I guess it's back to grinding. I took the day to grind to level 20, utilizing the peninsula to my advantage. Once I reached level 19, creatures started to run from me, which makes grinding low-level enemies much more difficult. But now, it's time to take on the Marsh Cave again. I get to the bottom and get absolutely slaughtered before I could even get my second ruse up. My second attempt, I get paralysis soft-locked and had to reset. My third attempt goes slightly better. I finally got both ruse and fogs up, and I tried to recover my health, which wasn't going as planned. Each wizard has 84 HP, and even with a crit chance of 1%, they're popping off crits like nobody's business. I also keep getting extremely unlucky because I keep getting 4 of these fucks when the odds are between 2 and 4. Also, Jonah's horrible accuracy really starts to show itself here, and I can barely land a hit on these guys. I can't keep up with my healing, so I die a frustrating death. My fourth attempt though, I hit the jackpot. I get to the bottom and only have 2 of these guys spawn, and they miss both of their first attacks. So I get my ruses up quick and decide to spam all of my remaining level 1 spells on fog to maximize my defense. The downfall to my luck though is that I'm doing damage in the single digits, and pair that with my shit accuracy, I'm in for a long, drawn-out battle. Eventually, the first one does go down after a few lucky critical hits a few turns prior, and I go hard on the second one, finally taking it down using no cure spells. Please, for God's sake, I just want to win.
Okay, this is kind of funny.
Yes! Yes!
Oh, this is kind of funny. This is kind of funny.
God fucking damn it! My heart races as I dash for the exit, finishing the Marsh Cave and getting the crown. Yes! Get me out of here. Get me out of here. Get me out of here, baby! Let's go!
He's out of there.
Save. Fucking save. Holy fucking shit.
Yo, actually,
I'm killing myself. Wait, what?
Actually sick fashion frame.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I might. That's what I might do for Matt.
That was only the second dungeon, and I had to grind 15 levels just to get it out of the way. But we're not done with Elf Town just yet. We need to return the crown and go fight our second boss, Astos. We head to the Northwest Castle and save right outside before officially fighting him. Astos has 168 HP, a 104% hit rate, a 39% evade rate, and a 1% critical rate. He is very magic heavy and has access to level 2 and 3 fire and lightning spells, slow and fast, and status spells like sleep, dark, and instant death. Astos also has incredibly high absorb too. You may notice that I'm only doing 1 damage per hit. This is how the fight is going to go, a long, slow, and painful process. But there is one spell that I want to utilize, and that is Mute. Mute will cause the silence effect and prevent the victim from casting spells, even though he's gonna try anyway. We definitely want to hit him with this so we can prevent him from accessing any of his spells. The first attempt, I used every spell slot on Mute and didn't hit him once. So I tried to get my normal setup, but was hit with an instant death spell, and game over. My second attempt though, I hit him with Mute right off the bat. Perfect. I set up my ruse and fogs and started the long, painful process of bonking him on the head for 1 damage per hit. He does try to cast spells which doesn't go through because of Mute, and he misses every physical attack due to the ruses. If you can see me looking at my computer, I am literally keeping track of every single point of damage I deal to see how much longer I have left. This fight took me over 30 minutes with a few critical hits to help speed up the process. He does hit me with 1 critical hit when he gets down to about 30 HP, but thanks to 1 last critical hit from me, he goes down.
Oh,
Let's go!
So I feel like I mean, it's a fucking crapshoot though to try to get that.
Alright. That was painfully
Specific one, Micah.
painfully f***ing slow, but we
I
did
got
it.
lucky with the shield and being like my second one.
That was over 30 minutes of nothing but just bonking.
Nice. I mean, I might like.
We grab the crystal, and then we head back to Conaria, and then we head to Motoya's cave. She gives us the herb we need to wake up the prince, and we are handed the Mystic Key. This key will help us gain access to hidden treasures throughout certain dungeons. I am going for a completionist run, so yes, I do intend to get every single treasure I can get. But since I don't have a great way of dealing with stun locks, I'm going to hold off on both the Marsh cave and Garland's castle for now, at least until I get a certain piece of equipment. Also, getting the treasures will ensure more gil, since the armor and weapons I get will be more than useless to my white mage. So, I grabbed the treasures in Elfland Castle, which provided me with sellables and the silver hammer, increasing damage, crit rate, and hit rate. Then we went back to Northwest Castle to grab those treasures. It does throw me into some random battles, but this grants me some sellables and the Power Staff, which has the same damage, but higher crit rate and normal hit rate. This may sound like a stupid move, but I'm going to use the Power Staff because more damage sounds better. I'm already missing anyway, so a 5% increase won't matter much, but a 9% to 14% crit rate sounds leagues better. Anyways, we head back to Corneria to grab its sellables and the TNT we can take to the dwarves in the dwarf cave. We grab their sellables, hand the TNT to the worker dwarf, and use this newly made hole to head to Melmond. I sell all my useless armor and weapons and gain the silver armor and my level 5 spells, Cure 3 to prevent death, Heal 2, which also prevents death, but with a lower amount to the whole team, might as well just in case, and Harm 3, which will come in major handy at the Peninsula of Power and the Zombie Bowls. I decided to grind to level 25 before moving forward. I used this time to try my new tools and discovered that it was possible to heal from paralysis. With my newfound knowledge, I went back to Garland's castle and cleared it out. Then I went back to the Marsh cave and had some horrible and amazing luck. While exploring the second floor, I run into a group of zombies and ghouls. The ghouls can paralyze you, and that's exactly what happened. Despite my best efforts to run, they slowly whittled down my HP, and every time I cured, I immediately would get paralyzed again. I wasn't able to run until I hit 12 HP. I ran and head off to the next room, only to get hit again with the exact same encounter. No, this is the same run! No!
Oh, no.
Paralyzed! Alright, cool. God damn it!
Yippee.
I can't do anything! Luckily, I was able to pop off a harm 3 before hitting half health, but it was just such shit and great luck at the same time. I head to the bottom to get the remaining chests, and I come face to face with the 4 wizards again. Alright, assholes, let's go. I'm ready for you this time. I actually was able to take my revenge and beat them legit. So, I grabbed the other 2 treasures and got the fuck out of there. After that, I continued to grind, and then I hit level 25, and then I headed straight for the Earth Cave. Using the same strategy as the Marsh Cave, we ignore all treasure and head straight to the first boss room, the Vampire. With only having 156 HP, he goes down in a couple of harm 3s. Let's go! That was easy. But then I realized that I totally spaced that we need to go get the rod in order to progress. So I decided to start grabbing treasure on the way up. We took down Earth surprisingly, and got almost all the treasures on this floor until disaster struck. No! 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 I got into a random encounter with 9 enemies that can paralyze you. You can only imagine how this encounter went. I just did all of that for fucking nothing! Motherfucker! So, sending me back to the beginning, we take another chance at the Earth Cave. Surely you must be joking! We get back to the Vampire where we kill him in one shot. But you'll never guess what happens. Get f***ed, one shot. Alright, thank you. Get the ruby and run. Get the ruby and run. I don't... Get the fucking ruby and run. I don't care about the rest of the shit. What? No! No! God fucking damn it! I just one-shot him. Why didn't you just give it to me? Oh my god. Oh my god, please. Please fucking run. Please run. Paralyzed. Motherfucker! Why? Why do you hate me today? I don't know what kind of bullshit luck caused this, but clearly RNJesus hates me right now. But it was funny, so I'm glad I got it on video. We somehow survive and get back to the top. We head to the Titan's tunnel and give him the ruby that we got from the Vampire. Once we got past him, we headed straight for Sandra's cave and got the rod from her. Now it's time to head back down, and no joke, every single random encounter we run into terrifies me. I trek as carefully as I can, going as few steps as possible. Every time that screen flashes, I hold my breath not knowing what the hell I'm in for. I make it to the bottom and start the battle with the Lich. The Lich has 400 HP with access to all types of magic spells, including all elements level 2 spells and status spells. The Lich is an undead enemy, which makes it susceptible to harm 3, and this is exactly how I want to deal with it. My first attempt goes horribly. I spent a few turns trying to set up, but then I just get killed in a couple of turns. The next attempt goes a little better. I get close by just using harm 3, but then I get paralyzed and die. My third attempt goes a whole lot better. My first harm 3 doesn't do a whole lot, but the second one hits like a freight train. Within 5 turns, the Lich is no more. Let's go! Don't ask me why I'm dancing, I hit the good part of my song. Sorry. Oh my god. Oh my god. That's all I wanted. That's all I wanted. We restore light to the Earth Orb and head on to Crescent Lake. We gain 2 spells, Invis 2 and Fog 2 to help with both of our Evade and Absorb if needed. Soft is going to be useless because if we just get petrified, it's game over anyway, so I decide not to take that. Next, we find the Circle of Sages where one of them gives us the canoe. The canoe gives us access to the rivers, which will come in very much handy, especially with the next place we're trying to go. I decided to take the path to the airship first to help us get the armor and spells to help me not die in future dungeons. This dungeon is filled with all sorts of danger, including enemies that can paralyze you and instantly kill you. And to make things worse, we have to go up and down to find the boss of this dungeon, I has 162 HP and is a spellcaster that always starts the battle with an instant death or stone attack. And this is how he kills me in my first attempt. And can I just say that running up and down this dungeon of death is fucking annoying. I have no way of countering any sort of instant death or paralysis, so this entire dungeon is just RNG at this point. My second attempt, after 10 or so attempts of this dungeon, I finally get silence on him after a few casts. I set up my ruse and start the onslaught. Luckily, I's defense isn't as high as Astos, so I'm occasionally dealing more than 1 damage per hit. It was a slow and painful process, but I took him down in the second attempt.
I'm glad I got. Oh my god, I'm glad I transmuted this. This is fucking great. Like energy on Mercy, almost energy on Mercy. I mean, it's 50% chance, but that's still really good.
Alright, now imagine if you could upgrade them.
Oh my god,
So much stress was on the table, but I managed to escape the ice cave and gain access to the airship.
Steam key, and I was like, alright, well.
Yo, this looks like a Persona.
Yes. Yes. Oh my fucking god. Thank god that shit is over.
Bro just came, like, mentally, physically, and emotionally.
Oh, you have no idea.
Bro heard Persona and
Bro wasn't even listening. He was too focused on not dying as a white mage.
You have no idea what the fuck I just went through.
Oh, subconsciously.
Yeah.
9%? Wait, what? Oh, this is like a short level. Yeah. Oh my lord.
The airship will be our ultimate means of transportation, whether that be to the peninsula or to various towns that we haven't explored yet. Before we move on with the game, however, there are a few things I want to do. First off, we head to Gaia to grab the Pro Ring, gloves that gives us resistance to instant death. I don't have enough gold to get the new armor, but I decide to head to the Waterfall Cavern for a few things. First, we grab the cube because it'll be important later. Then we grab all the chests to get the ribbon, a headpiece that finally gives us resistance to all status effects. Holy Mary, Mother of God, finally! We also grab our first 2 magic weapons, the Wizard Staff and the Defense Sword. These are weapons that we can use as items in battle to cast spells either for free or spells we wouldn't be able to access as a white mage. The Wizard Staff casts Confuse, which will be less than helpful, but the Defense Sword casts Ruse, which will save our level 1 spell slots for either Cure or Fog. There are more weapons like this throughout the game, and we will be looking for them, mostly because we will need them for upcoming boss fights. So because I'm a stubborn and completionist bitch who wants anything and everything, I decide to dive back into both the earth and ice caves to gather all the remaining treasures, which will help me in gold, which will help me get the last of the equipments and spells I need to buy. The last spells for this run are going to be Heal 3 to prevent death, and A-Rub to help resist status effects and death. Now our current equipment is the gold armor, the Pro Ring gloves, the power staff, and the ribbon. This will be our equipment loadout for a while. I went back to my grinding spot to grind up to level 30, but we ran into a little bit of an issue. We're starting to get to a point where the monsters from our grinding spot are starting to run from battle. This means once we're done with the Volcano, we're going to need to find a new grinding spot. I decided to tackle these dungeons a little differently this time. I'm going to try to get all the treasures on the way down instead of trying to come back for them later. The Volcano is a bit unique because on every floor, there are these floor tiles that will drain your HP just like in the ice cave. The encounters here are a lot more manageable and runnable. Not saying that there aren't any non-runnable battles, but our equipment makes these encounters a lot easier. I get to the bottom to face the second fiend, Carry, the Fiend of Fire. Carry has 600 HP, 50 absorb, a 115% hit rate, and a 24% evasion rate. Carry is mainly a melee fighter, but also has some fire spells along with some status effects and instant death. I wanted to try to get rid of the magic portion first, but that was a stupid mistake and I ended up dying on my first attempt. So I scrapped the treasure idea and just decided to run all the way back down. Instead, I decided just to focus on boosting my defense with Fog 2, then used a couple of ruse spells with my defense weapon, then proceeded to attack. With Carry's high defense, we still only see single digits in damage, but lucky critical hits make up for lost time and I heal when I need to. It was a slow and painful process, but we managed to take down Carry in our second attempt. There we go. That should be it. Let's go! After that, I descend back into the volcano and gather the rest of the treasure. After that fight, I realized that just bonking for every boss isn't going to do us much good. So before heading into the Sunken Shrine, I decided that I need to hit a couple of other dungeons to get some more magic weapons. Most importantly, the Heal Staff and the Thor Hammer for both heal and lit 2 spells. The first dungeon I tackle is the Castle of Ordeal, collecting all the treasure along the way, and most importantly, the Zeus Gauntlet and the Heal Staff. The Zeus Gauntlet has the same properties as the Thor Hammer, but just takes an armor slot instead. I totally forgot this existed. I still want to grab the hammer just because that last armor slot will be taken eventually. I also grabbed the Rat's Tail, which will just be a slot in my inventory because I'm not allowed to use it. Also, I would like to get the next dungeon treasures out of the way, just not to worry about it later. But it turns out I'm an idiot, and the Mirage Tower is not open yet. But on the plus side, the item that we need to fill our last armor slot is in that dungeon. So I decide just to work towards the Sunken Shrine. We head to Onrak, where we get the hint that we need some Oxyle. In order to get the Oxyle, we head to the small patch of desert west of Onrak. We buy the bottle from the caravan, head back to Gaia, use the bottle, and speak to the fairy who will provide us with the Oxyle. Bringing the Oxyle back to Onrak will give us access to the Sunken Shrine. This time I am going to get all the treasures because I have a lot more spells to deal with random encounters. And I mean it this time. I decide to head upwards first and clear all the treasures to get the final armor, the Opal Armor. I also grab the Light Axe for Harm 2 and the Mage Staff for Fire 2. Last but not least, we get the Slab, which we can use for a series of quests to get to the Mirage Tower. Now it's time to head down, and unfortunately, I get unlucky on my first attempt, but my second attempt I was able to snag all the treasures, head back up, save, and beeline it to the Water Fiend, the Kraken. The Kraken has 800 HP, 60 absorb, a 128% hit rate, and a 42% evade rate. The Kraken only has one spell that they can utilize, Ink, which causes darkness to the party. Oh no, what are we gonna do? It tries to go for Ink but misses, and I set up my ruses and fogs before going ham with our lit 2 spells thanks to the Zeus Gauntlet. This strategy does between 60 to 130 damage per hit. This does so much more than our normal bonks on the head with the Power Staff. The Kraken does get some lucky criticals during the fight, but I was able to keep my HP up and we beat the Kraken on our first attempt. Let's go, first try. Last, but certainly not least, is the Wind Orb. Taking the slab back to Melmond allows us to understand the people in Lephium, where we get the chime. Taking the chime back to the Mirage Tower finally gives us access. We head inside and completely clear the place of loot, gaining the Thor Hammer that also has the same Lit 2 spell attached. Now it's time for the Floating Castle. I, once again, am going to be clearing out the place of treasure before getting to Tiamat. I clear the first 2 floors, giving us access to the Bane Sword, our last magic weapon that uses poison damage to instantly KO enemies, and the Adamant that lets us complete the side quest to get Excalibur, which is completely useless to a white mage, but it gives me another thing to check off my list. We clear the last floor that has treasures, granting me my final piece of equipment, the Pro Cape, the only shield that a white mage can equip. I try and get out, only to have the blue dragon kill me, erasing all that progress. So take 2, we get all the treasure again, and I do end up making it out this time. All that's left is to take on Tiamat. Tiamat has 1000 HP, 80 absorb, a 123% hit rate, and a 36% evade rate. He also has access to thunder, blizzard, fire, and poison magic. But honestly, none of that is really going to matter. You see, Tiamat is weak to one element, poison. And if you were paying attention to what we got earlier, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm about to pull. After trying to land the Bane Sword a few times, I set up my ruses and heal all the way back up. It only takes a few more turns for the Bane Sword to land, and we hit Tiamat with an instant KO on our first attempt. Yes! Let's go! Only took me a few hundred fucking attempts, but let's do it! Alright! Say goodbye to the floating castle for now, because we will be back eventually. Why? You'll see. With the final orb restored, the gateway to the final dungeon is open. But before that, we need to make some preparations. We need to make that final grind to level 50. I decided to use the Mirage Tower to get some decent experience since my usual grinding spots are no longer working. The Bane Sword is going to come in great handy to get through these encounters quickly, is what I would be saying if it wasn't so luck-based. This strategy got tiresome very quickly, but I had an idea. While in the floating castle, we ran into our good friend, the Eye. He gives 3,225 EXP, as well as the same amount in gold, and I can wipe him out in 2 turns with the Mage Staff. This guy can be a great way to level up quickly, but there's an even better way to go about it. But that requires me to return to the bane of my existence, the Ice Cave. Eye has the same spawn point where we first encountered him, and just like any other enemy spawn point in front of chests, you can step on that point an infinite number of times to continuously grind him for his sweet EXP and money. I just need to be careful. I may have resistance to his magic, but that does not mean it can't go through, so I will be stepping outside to save every few levels I gain. The reason why this is such an easy strat is because I will consistently try to cast instant death and stone on you and will barely try to hit you with any damaging attacks, which means you don't have to heal as much, as well as he doesn't run from you. Which means you can stay here for at least a couple hours getting good experience. In just a couple hours, we reach level 50. Our final stats are a max HP of 761, 27 strength, 32 agility, 48 intelligence, which doesn't mean shit, 35 vitality, and 34 luck. All we have left is the final dungeon. Here we are, the final dungeon, the Temple of Fiends Past. Here, we need to face 6 bosses: Phantom, Lich, Carry, Kraken, Tiamat, and the final boss. Because we are a white mage with no access to the exit spell, and this door was a one-way ticket, we have no way of saving in between, and no way of exiting the dungeon. And let me just say, I have tried this on countless attempts, and the furthest I would get is past Kraken and die to some stupid random encounter. This dungeon is full of some of the most disgusting enemies that you can't run from, and you do poor and pitiful damage as I continue to get unlucky with multiple of critical hits to my face. The unfortunate thing is that I just need to make it down one hallway after the Kraken fight, and all of my problems will be over. But these stupid worms love munching on Jonah's juicy cheeks. This is the reason this run took so long. I was starting to lose hope. I stopped playing the game for months after this because I would get so frustrated. I thought this run was officially dead. But then, I realized something. We've been through so much to just quit now. I won't sit here and let the one commenter destroy my reputation and let the finish line taunt me. So I woke up, got dressed, brushed my teeth, drove over to Jonah's house and said, "Jonah, this is it. This is the final stretch. I know this seems impossible, but I feel like that you and I can do this." Now look, all the problems that we've been having so far have been mostly, actually they have been your fault, let's be honest. But I think that we can still do this. We are at the finish line, man. I know that if we work together, we can do anything. And I feel like that we will conquer and we will win!
My brother in Christ, you're in the wrong house.
Try
tracked down the wrong brother. Damn it! And good riddance, honk!
I needed to develop a new strategy, so I decided to look over my equipment one last time. I did pick up the black shirt that I can use as an item in battle to cast Ice too, but it does require an armor slot. I'll just replace the pro cape whenever I need to use it. The next thing I need to figure out is how to tackle each box with succession. I realized that using pro champ strategy won't work considering they skewed their stats, so I decided to check out speedrunners. There's one run by Shane Zell that did a solo white mage no class run in 14 hours. I looked at their setup during each boss fight and I think I have a solid strategy down. Then there was one more thing that I noticed that changed everything. The morning before I was supposed to attempt the final dungeon again, I decided to test out the new strategy, just to see if it would work in my favor, and I was fully expecting to die. Before starting, a revelation was made. At the starting screen, there was this option called a respond rate. When I started this challenge, I didn't know what this meant, so I just kind of ignored it. But what this does is change the speed of the battle text. This number goes from 1 to 8. 1 is the normal slow speed, but turning it up to 8 made the text go by super fast. Battles went by so quick, I felt kind of dumb because I was always wondering how people were able to get the text to go by so fast, and I definitely should have looked into this a little more. But this means attempts will take less than an hour at a time depending how far I get, and the heal staff method will go by super quick and also helps me save on potions. But that's not all. On this attempt, I got to Masamune, and I got to Tiamat. Unfortunately, I did die, but it wasn't really a real attempt, so I wasn't even mad. But now, I know this is possible. We have the strategy. All we need is the luck. In a minute since I stun locked to death. Yeah, the luck is never in my favor. I have the strategies down for the bosses, but I'm still getting ripped to shreds by random encounters, specifically the worms and the gas dragons since I can't run from them. My original strategy is just to reset the game if I got into an encounter with the gas dragons because it's just not worth it. But that's early on before any of the bosses, and I still have the worms to deal with on the 4th floor. Sure, the bosses are a pain, but if I can get a good cycle of the random encounters, I can take the chances on the bosses. That's when I noticed something during Shane Zell's run. Before running into the castle, they would get into random encounters outside and then reset the game. I did so much research on this and couldn't figure out for the life of me what this was. After doing some more digging, I think this is an encounter manipulation. Every run they made, they got the same enemies every time they entered. I figured if I could figure out this trick, I could cut the randomness of the enemies entirely. Then, I figured it out. I went through every single run and wrote down the encounter from start to finish. Once I get this encounter set, I just need to make sure I get this on every attempt to get the rhythm down and to know what equipment I need to have at specific times. Here's the strategy. If I die, I need to hard reset the game and get into encounters and reset 4 times outside, 1 time inside, 2 times outside, and 1 more time inside before entering the portal. Once I have a group of zombies, I know I'm in the clear. Now that I have this down, it's time to see if the strategy works. And it does. With this strategy, I am able to control the encounters that I come across and prepare accordingly. Using this strategy, I was able to make it to the final boss with very little issue, but there's only one more issue that remains. But for now, let's go through the final dungeon. The Temple of Fiends Pass is a multi-floor nightmare that has been tough to traverse without the encounter manipulation. We start with the Power Staff equipped, along with the Thor Hammer, Mage Staff, and Defense Sword in our standby. We want to head up 2 floors, running from the battles we come across. Eventually we will run into Phantom. Phantom has 360 HP, 60 absorb, and hits like a goddamn truck. Especially when he crits, which he has the highest crit rate in the game. His biggest weakness, though, is fire. We spam the Mage Staff until he is burnt to a crisp. Kind of like he will consistently spam instant kill spells, which we are resistant to. Depending on our luck, he will go down in a few turns. I walked through this temple a lot, so I'm just going to give you my strategies for what I'm doing to stay alive. We go back down, once again running from every battle. Once we reach the first floor again, we equip the Light Axe and Heal Staff in place of the Thor Hammer and Mage Staff. There is a forced worm encounter where we can defense 3 times and Heal Staff ourselves back to full. We want to try to spare our heals as much as possible. We continue to Basement 1, or the Earth Floor, and run from every battle as well as we hope we don't get paralyzed. Once we reach the end, we face the Lich. Compared to last time, he has 100 more HP and higher stats in all categories. All we want to do is spam the Light Axe to save spell slots, or use Harm 3 no more than 3 times to help, but the damage will be fine either way. He does get us with Nuke once or twice, but he will go down in just a few turns. Next is Basement 2, or the Fire Floor. We switch the Light Axe out with the Bane Sword and swap our Pro Cape with the Black Shirt for ice damage. We run from every encounter except for the group of fires towards the end, which we kill all but one and use the Heal Staff. Then we rematch Carry. Same thing as the Lich, Carry has 100 more HP and slightly higher stats. Defense 3 times and spam the Black Shirt. Carry is resistant to all elements, but the Black Shirt seems to be doing the most damage on average. We might need to use a few Cure 3s or Heal 3s. Carry is one of the more problematic bosses, but eventually you will come away with it after a while. Basement 3, or the Water Floor, you want to swap the Heal Staff with the Thor Hammer and re-equip all armor. Run from every battle and heal up before the Kraken rematch. Same deal, 100 more HP and increased stats, except Kraken hits way harder and has lightning spells to use. Defense 3 times and use the Thor Hammer to eventually come away with it. Use Cure 3 or Heal 3 if you absolutely must. Kraken was another one of those bosses that gave me a lot of trouble. Basement 4, or the Air Floor, is where you really want to pay attention to the encounters if you're using this manipulation. After you get into the encounter with the Rock Golem, switch your ribbon out with the Black Shirt and prepare for the Worm Slam Jam. Pray you only get 3 worms, and if you get 4, may God have mercy on your soul. Defense up 3 times, spam the Black Shirt, and pray to RNJesus that you come away with the victory. Get to the end of the hallway towards the bottom right to get the ultimate Masmune. This will come in real handy for the next few upcoming bosses, at least in a normal run, and I'll explain in a second. Dash towards the end, running from all encounters, and face Tiamat. Same deal as last time, 100 more HP, higher stats, except the poison weakness is gone. After defensing 2 or 3 times, use Masmune. Once Tiamat is no more, head to the staircase and meet the final boss, Garland, who will eventually become Chaos. Chaos has 2000 HP, resists all elements, and it has a multitude of spells, such as Ice and Lit 2 and 3, Slow 2, Fire 2, Fast, Nuke, and worst of all, Cure 4, which fully heals him. The strategy is to buff ourselves and wait until he uses Cure 4, then let loose with Masmune. Masmune is a critical hitting machine, dealing multiple hits that can deal upwards of 400 damage. This will be our winning formula. Gamers, I have no other way to tell you this. This particular run is next to impossible. Let me explain. When I hit level 50, I mentioned I had 27 strength. And that is an issue. Strength is one of the most important stats in the game because it determines your damage output. And that is one of the biggest things, that is one of the most important things of the Chaos boss fight, to get as much damage as possible before he heals back to max. When I was using Masmune on Garland, I was barely hitting any critical hits. And when I was hitting critical hits, it was only doing roughly around between 160 to 200 damage. And that's not going to be enough. In order for me to kill Chaos with this current setup, I need to hit him with at least 20 critical hits, doing a minimum of 200 damage. And that's before he can heal himself. This also means every single one of my hits needs to be a critical hit, as well as I also need to survive his onslaught of spells that are coming to nuke me. And I can't heal because I need to continuously hit him, or else I'm not going to get enough damage in before he eventually heals himself back to max. In order for me to win this fight legit, I need an insane amount of luck. And it just was not on my side. I thought that I was missing something, so I went back and I looked over the speedrunner that I was watching to help me out with the final dungeon, and it turns out he was also skewing his strength stat. He had a strength stat of 53 by the end of the run. I only had 27. This is not looking good for me. As a white mage, the only way that I am able to do enough damage is to use Masmune. But with my strength stat, it's just not looking good, unfortunately. It just also boils down to I'm already level 50, so I have no way of changing my strength stat. The only other way for me to do this is to hit Chaos with the Bane Sword, which has a 3 out of 256 chance to work. It's there, but that is a dice roll that I am not going to win. I even tried the Bane Sword a few times after trying the Masmune strat, and it would just never hit, or Chaos would hit me with slow 2, and I would lose the run either way. Gamers, unfortunately it is time to use the failsafe. There is no way without just an insane amount of luck that I can pull this off with my current stat build. And it angers me because I was going through each one of my attempts and I was going through every single strike that I was doing and I was calculating my damage. My very first attempt that I took at Chaos, I dealt 1,734 damage, 8 out of those 13 hits being critical hits. And I just couldn't replicate it, which makes me think that this is possible. And this angers me to my bitter core that I wasn't able to replicate this fully. I was just insanely lucky getting one hit of like 401 damage, but that's so incredibly low. And just beyond that, I was doing like 550, 1133, 788, 1166, and I just wasn't doing it. I just couldn't replicate it. And this upsets me because it feels like it's possible. But unfortunately, it just wasn't in the cards. Even if I try to use Mute, which only has a 1 out of 256 chance, or use the Bane Sword, I need to be extremely lucky in order for me to beat Chaos without changing my class. I have been up and down this temple about 50 times at this point. I have been working on this video for months. And unfortunately, I have to realize that I have a life to live, and I need to use the failsafe. I know this might leave a bad taste in some people's mouths, especially that one commenter, but just remember, the challenge was 4 white mages, and I'm only doing 1. Do you see the craziness in my eyes? I've been working on this for so long. I'm ready to stop, but I'm going to continue, and I'm going to finish this fucking challenge. It's going to happen, so I'm fucking stubborn! But in all seriousness, it does irk me that I was not able to recreate my first attempt. But this is the only way that I can get this done in a satisfying way. I am proud of myself, though, that I got all the way to the final boss without changing my class. But we are unfortunately going to have to do it in order to officially finish the game. So here we go. We head to Bahamut, and we upgrade to the White Wizard. After that, there are only 2 spells that I'm going to buy. Cure 4 and Fade, also known as Holy. These are the only 2 spells that I'm allowing myself to use as a white wizard in order to take chaos down. So, right after I started talking about potentially upgrading my white mage to a white wizard, because, you know, I have a life and I need to finish this at some point, a government official showed up to my house, and now I have to sign a contract. To whom it may concern, you are about to enter a...
Dude, just sign the contract.
I can't read it.
I'm legally obligated to say that you can read it, but for God's sake, please just sign it.
F*** you, I'm gonna read it.
Okay.
To whom it may concern, you are about to enter a contract with the Council of Jonah. As a non-Jonah party, these contracts are rare. By signing this contract, you will hereby receive the sinister blessing of Jonah. However, also by signing this contract, you will be forever haunted by the fact that you transferred your white mage into a white wizard. By signing below, you are affirming that you not only agree to the contract, but you also understand the terms in this legally binding document. Any attempts to erase the writing in this contract will result in any punishment deemed fit by the Council of Jonah.
What?
Alright, I'm in.
You understand it, right?
Oh, wait, it's 24. Am I good now?
Yes. I will be taking this document back to the Council of Jonah.
He said that it would be taking the document, but before I started recording, he said he was going to be back.
I forgot to mention I'll be supervising the rest of the run from here on out.
Alright, well, guess we're locking in. Here we go. I appreciate everyone joining me for this run. I definitely don't have a gun pointed to the back of my head.
I don't have a gun.
Your eyes are like guns.
Well,
Hey.
that's on you.
What's up, Bahamut? Here we go. We are officially white wizards, and this didn't skew my stats at all. Now we have some spells to buy. God, I thought that said 70. That's a lot of guilt. Okay, so I can only buy 2 spells, correct?
Buy as many as you want, dude.
Okay. Alright. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with that just to still keep the challenge fresh. Even though it's ending like this, I'm very proud that I got all the way there to the final boss with only 1 white mage. As well as I learned a lot about this game, which is pretty sick. Hey, in normal runs.
Hell, you even met the government.
Yeah. See, the government officials are now showing up to my house. This should be a creep. Yeah! Alright, it does work. Alright, we should be good now. So, up, left, right, down, and up. Zombies? Yeah! Run from them bitches.
Coward.
Alright, here we go. Afterwards, the race was on. It took us a couple of attempts, but we finally made it to Chaos. The fight was on. But then I realized something that I should have a while ago. I didn't take into account magic defense. Fade is normally supposed to deal between 160 to 320 non-elemental damage, but I barely got 250 and got as low as 94. My first attempt I dealt over 1500 damage and I could have finished him off with Masamune, but then he hit me with slow 2 and I tried to bane him and I failed. The second attempt I did a little more damage, but once again I was hit with slow 2 and didn't make the deadline. I tried to use the Bane Sword on him, and I was starting to try to think of a strategy where I could make attempts easier if I went and got the exit spell and got Masamune to make the attempts go by easier. But then, this happened. Oh my god!
It is done.
Oh my god! I hit him! Oh my god! I believed in the blessing! Yes.
Yeah, Justin, sorry I woke up so late. Are we still good to hang out? What's this about a blessing?
Oh my god! Fucking finally!
What's going on?
Ladies and gentlemen, it is mostly possible to beat Final Fantasy I NES with one white mage, well technically one white wizard, without skewing your stats. I can't believe that happened.
Hey, what happened?
Hey, Jonah, how you doing?
What's going on? Why do you have so much energy?
You won! You won!
I did?
You won!
Hell yeah. Yeah, sorry I woke up so late.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It is mostly possible to beat Final Fantasy I on the NES with only one white mage without skewing your stats. I truly do think that this challenge is possible with the right amount of luck. I dealt almost over 1700 damage to Chaos on my first attempt, and I just could not replicate it. Also, the Bane Sword can work if you just keep your HP up. With a white mage, that would just be extremely difficult, having to use Cure 3, and I wasn't expecting to beat this run with an insta-kill on the Bane Sword. Oh my god, I'm so glad I did, though. The biggest issue with the white mage and using the Bane Sword and all that kind of stuff is just the insane amount of luck and all the exhaustion of having to do that entire temple in one run. And bruh, it's not that bad is the problem. It's just having to do it a numerous amount of times in order to actually pull it off. And it was one of the same issues that I had with Final Fantasy III, and I probably should have looked at that when I first did my ranking, but whatever. I don't care about that anymore. But I've been working on this challenge for months, and I'm so glad that I ended it this way. I'm not gonna lie. Overall, I had a lot of fun with this challenge, and I was super proud of myself for getting all the way to the final boss without upgrading my class. Wait, we're not done yet, are we? We still have one more thing we have to do. There's only one thing left that I have to do, and that's beat Warmech. In the floating castle, there's a long bridge that leads to Tiamat 1. There's a 3 out of 64 chance that Warmech will show up, and this is kind of known as a soft super boss in Final Fantasy I. This is my next and final target of this run. First, we need to go to Crescent Lake and get the exit spell that will allow us to immediately escape from any dungeon. Then we make the trek of the Temple of Fiends again, only this time getting every chest and using Fade on various bosses, and also getting Mas Mune, and then leaving it forever. Afterwards, we need to head to the Cardia Islands, where we got our class upgrade, and loot every single chest in every cave. Now, we have 100% completed the game in terms of collectible items. Now we need to set our save point outside of the Mirage Tower, where we can make the final trek upwards to face off against Warmech, who destroys us immediately. The other downside is that him spawning boils down to random chance, so we need to see if we can manipulate the encounters again to ensure his spawning. I needed some help. I decided to do something risky. I commented on one of Shane Zell's videos where he fought Warmech, asking how he ensures him to spawn in the NES version. And to my absolute surprise, he replied to me with the knowledge that he will be the 20th encounter after a hard reset of the game. What an absolute legend. His channel will be in the description. Please go check out his runs. He still does them to this day. So I put this information to the test. I counted every encounter after a hard reset, as well as wrote down every encounter that was going to appear, so I knew what I could run from and what I couldn't run from. I make it to the bridge, lure out the rest of the encounters, and we finally have Warmech. Warmech has 1000 HP and only has 2 attacks, his normal attack and nuclear, that does the same amount of damage as Fade. Very rarely does he start out the battle without a preemptive strike. My strategy is as such. I'm only going to attack him with Mas Mune when my health is at its maximum to ensure his next attack doesn't kill me. So I utilize my Cure 4s and strike at max, hoping I crit. 3 attempts later, Warmech is no more.
Yes!
Yes! And just like that, Warmech goes down. Yes! I only got half the battle though. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Final Fantasy I has been beaten without skewing your stats with 1 White Mage, with only 2 bosses needing the White Wizard. To this day, the 1 White Mage run against Warmech on the NES has not been accomplished. Maybe I'll try it at a later date when I decide to skew my stats. I started this challenge back in July of 2023, and finally finished it in April of 2024 with so many breaks in between. This challenge though was a lot of fun, and highly recommend anyone try this. But do it on your repeat playthrough so you know how the game works beforehand. Big thank you to GamerChamp for your tips and tricks, even though I didn't mess with my stats, and Shane Zell for doing your runs so that I can learn the manipulations and even answering my questions when you didn't have to. Also, thank you to the Council of Jonah for giving me the blessing to beat the final boss. Just send better reps next time. Thank you to everyone who supported me through this challenge and joining me in the random recording sessions. Also, most importantly, thank you, fellow viewers, for watching this video. Even if it didn't turn out how you expected, I hope you enjoyed the video and you want to see more challenge runs in the future. I would love to take them on. Let me know what other runs I can do in the comments below, whether it be Final Fantasy or any game you want to see me try. Maybe I'll stream the next one, you never know. One last thank you to that one commenter. You helped push me through this challenge and I beat your challenge, even though I one-upped you. Even though there was a class change, just ignore that detail. But in all seriousness, this was all just fun and games. Please don't witch hunt the dude. I just had fun making this video in the context of me trying to take on this one dude's challenge. So once again, thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. You guys doing that YouTube. Follow me on X at OperationGamer1. All that cool stuff. And I sincerely hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you all next time. Perfect. Another one done.